The art of the draftsman, the skill of the designer, the realization of a theory in a practical solution.
We're limited to a slope of 1 in 20 in order to keep those scour velocities down.
Well, what about compactive effort?
Concept, plan, engineering reality. September 1984. Floods in the Yarra Valley east of Melbourne. Following days of heavy rains, creeks reach flood levels. In towns like Lilydale, low-lying areas are inundated. While authorities estimate the possibility of another similar event as rare, it's little consolation to property owners affected by the floodwaters sweeping down from catchment areas. Before 1984, there'd been numerous minor floodings in Lilydale since the last major flood in 1934. Earlier, there was the Great Flood of 1863. Although 50 years separates the most recent major floods, flooding of the Yarra Valley can happen at any time. It's as unpredictable as the weather. In those far-off days last century, Lilydale was a rather different place. 19th century Lilydale was largely an agricultural world of market gardeners, graziers and grape growers. Lilydale residents were proud of their growing town, linked at last by steam railway to the distant metropolis of Melbourne in December 1881. Progress had brought prosperity, reflected in streets of fine private and public buildings. The town of Lilydale was built in a wide, fertile valley, but this was the floodplain of Olinda Creek. The early residents of Lilydale were perhaps more philosophical and stoical about the problems and hardships they faced, whether poor seasons for crops, agricultural pests, or the unpredictable floods that swept through the town.
We got the outlet drawing there.
Is this one you want?
But for planners from the Melbourne Metropolitan Board of Works, the 100 intervening years have made many solutions possible. They'd inherited from the Lilydale Shire responsibility for drainage in the Upper Yarra catchment, and this included Lilydale's infamous Olinda Creek. The 1984 floods brought municipal and public pressure to the boil. How to cope with the flooding problems.
What sort of slopes have we got on the spillway chute?
We're restricted to about 1 in 20 because we've got to keep the scour velocity.
Various options were discussed.
What impact will that have on our landscape values?
It wasn't simply a matter of containing the creek within massive banks. Aesthetic considerations would be vital if Lilydale residents weren't to substitute for scenes like this a large concrete drain running through the middle of the town. Work commenced in August 1987. The Olinda Creek Valley immediately above Lilydale had been rough grazing land. The site had to be cleared and culverts placed in position. The Lillydale Lake project evolved as a joint scheme between the board and the Lilydale Shire.
Impact on the wetlands?
No, that'll be quite okay with the wetlands discharging into the southern arm there. And if you can give us a chance to get any indigenous seeds before you start digging, we should be pretty right.
The board engineers and landscape architects from the Shire Council envisaged a dual facility. Not only functional, a basin to retard periodic floodwaters, but also aesthetic, a lake offering amenities for the public to enjoy. Surely engineering strategies don't have to be ugly. Why can't functional systems be integrated with the needs of the community? Here was the challenge. The Lilydale Lake isn't primarily a reservoir. It's what's known in the business as a retarding basin. Yet design standards must be equally stringent. How high should the embankment be constructed? How would floodwaters be controlled? Would the normal lake level be variable? How would water quality in the lake be assured? would the soil be suitable on site for the embankment?
Well, can we get our material on site?
I believe we can. We've got quite a few bores in the area and some test bits, and it seems to be showing up a fairly good stiff clay just below the surface, and I believe they'll be sufficient for the whole embankment.
Yes, the clay would be suitable. Tests proved that it would compact to the correct density in the wall. A functional design of basin for retarding the creek waters was evolved, with a large clay-filled embankment stretching across the shallow valley. This would hold back a permanent lake reaching back to the wetland area at the mouth of the Olinda Creek. The lake would have an area of 28 hectares. The water level would vary with rainfall and resulting stream flow into the lake. As the clay-filled embankment rose from the valley, a facing of rocks was created over a filter cloth. The rocks would prevent wave action eroding the wall, while the cloth would stop clay washing out through the rock facing and rendering the embankment unstable. When completed, the embankment would measure 400 metres long and some 7 metres in height. 90 to 100,000 cubic metres of clay would be necessary, 450 cubic metres of concrete, 7,500 cubic metres of rocks, 19,000 tree plantings and 2 islands. The heart of the flood control mechanism is the outlet structure. By this means, the lake level can be controlled and the amount of water released downstream varied. An essential element in flood control is hidden within the wall, a miniature concrete spillway to protect the embankment. But under normal conditions, water is released through the outlet structure into Olinda Creek below the embankment to flow on its traditional course through the town and onto the Yarra River. Lilydale today is in marked contrast with the town of last century. From a quiet rural settlement, it's now almost an outer suburb of Melbourne. The population is escalating rapidly. With this is coming increasing pressure on services and amenities. The new Lillydale Lake is central in the minds of the council planners. The water quality of Olinda Creek will be crucial to the health of the lake. The levels of pollutants and sediments must be controlled.
Moved round to the other side, around near pegs 31 and 32. Going fairly well there.
Peg 29, yeah.
The Board of Works engineers and biologists have created 2 islands in the lake to encourage movement of water and avoid stagnant backwaters. A wetlands area will be located at the top end of the lake. This will not only become a haven for fish and wildfowl, but will also act as a filter to clean the incoming water from the creek. As the water flows through a network of meanders, sediment will settle out, and the reed beds and water plants will help to raise oxygen levels in the lake. Beautification work on the surrounding parkland has been carried out by the Shire Council and has also involved assistance from local community groups. The area has been grassed, and the planting of a wide variety of native tree species will enhance the environmental and educational values of the lake. The embankment, the lake, wetlands, islands, and the parkland will form the central focus of recreational facilities. Together, they will revitalise the quality of life for the people of Lilydale and the Yarra Valley. For the birdwatcher, for sailboarding or yachting, the fisherman, and the walker or cyclist. An area for environmental studies for schools, or merely for passive recreation and relaxation. It will all be there at the Lilydale Lake.